Hercules is one of the most well-known names in Greek mythology, while the tale of his 12 labors is one of the best that Greek mythology tells. It all started when Heracles was born as a demigod to Zeus and Alcmene, a mortal princess, and his father was married to Hera, the goddess of women. His birth was bound to enrage her, and that is why she plotted a plan to send him for these 12 labors, hoping that he wouldn't return. So how does the story unravel? Heracles was raised by Alcmene and her husband Amphitryon. As a demigod, he was born with superhuman strength, which he revealed within the first few months of life. Hera was furious and who despised Heracles because he reminded her of her unfaithful husband, so she attempted to poison him as a newborn by putting snakes into his crib. However, Heracles strangled the snakes Hera had sent. But Hera's vengeance was far from over. As he got older, Heracles married Megara and had many sons. Hera, knowing how much Heracles loved his wife and children, made Heracles go insane, causing him to murder his wife and children, thereby taking away everything Heracles loved. When Heracles regains consciousness, he understands what he has done to his family and is overwhelmed with remorse. Heracles sought the help of Apollo, a god of healing, knowledge, and prophecy, to make up for his wrongdoings. Apollo instructed Heracles that he must serve Eurystheus, king of Tiryns. Hera still resolved to rid the world of Heracles, and recommended to Eurystheus that he make Heracles perform 10 difficult labors. As a result, Eurystheus assigned Heracles 10 labors to perform, but because Eurystheus disqualified 2 of them, he gave Heracles 2 extra labors to finish. Hera believed that Heracles would die while striving to finish these labors, which would eventually bring his demise, and this is what he had to do. 1. Kill the Nemean lion. King Eurystheus gave Heracles the job of bringing him the skin of an indestructible lion that tormented the highlands near Nemea. When Heracles arrived in Nemea and began tracking the terrifying lion, he quickly learned that his arrows were ineffective against the beast. So he took up his club and chased the lion, following it to a cave with 2 openings. Heracles blocked one of them before approaching the ferocious lion from the other. He held the lion securely in his enormous arms, ignoring its sharp claws until he strangled it to death. He flayed the dead animal and started wearing its skin and the animal's head as a helmet. 2. Kill the Lernaean Hydra. The Hydra, the snake with several heads, had breath so toxic that it was enough to kill a man. But this time, Heracles' arrows were successful against the beast, especially when he lit them on fire. Using the arrows, he then severed the animal's many heads. Heracles wasn't alone in this one, though. He was assisted by Iolaus, his nephew. This was required because beheading the Lernaean Hydra was like playing whack-a-mole. As soon as a head was lopped off, it instantly grew back. They used flaming brands to seal up the beast's various necks, preventing new heads from poking out. 3. Capture the Erymanthian boar. Eurystheus commanded Heracles to bring him the Erymanthian boar alive for the 4th labor. The boar was a massive wild pig with tusks sprouting out of its mouth. Heracles had little trouble locating the boar as he was able to hear the boar snorting and stomping as it searched for food. He followed the pig around the mountain, screaming as loudly as he could. Fearful and short of breath, the boar hid in a bush, and knowing of it, Heracles thrust his spear into the bushes, driving the fatigued beast into a deep area of snow. Then he caught the boar in a net and took it all the way to Mycenae. 4. Capture the golden hind. Cernea was a town in Greece where this hind lived. Since this deer with golden horns and bronze hooves was sacred to Artemis, the goddess of hunting and animals, Heracles refused to kill it. Instead, Heracles spent a year hunting deer every day. An opportunity to capture the deer finally came, and Heracles took it. On his way home, Heracles saw Artemis and Apollo, and had to explain why he captured the deer. He revealed to him his slavery to Eurystheus and Artemis, and Apollo agreed to let him take the hind on the condition that he would return it uninjured. 5. Clean the stables of King Augeas. More than 1,000 animals lived in King Augeas' stable. Heracles contacted him and promised to clean the stables in only 1 day in exchange for 1/10 of his cattle. King Augeas agreed to the terms, believing Heracles would be unable to complete the task. But Heracles used his fast wit and creativity to dig holes in the stables and redirect the 2 main rivers, Alpheus and Peneus, to flush out the waste. When King Augeas learned that Eurystheus had ordered Heracles to clean the stables, he refused to pay Heracles 1/10 of his cattle. But lawyers aren't new, you see. Heracles presented the case to a court which ruled that Heracles should be paid for his efforts. Still, when he came back home, Eurystheus told him that this labor would not count as he had used the rivers to clean the stables. 6. Defeat the Stymphalian birds. Eurystheus sent Heracles to chase away a large flock of birds that had gathered in Stymphalos. Because the birds were vicious man-eaters, Heracles had to figure out a way to safely take out the birds from town. Athena paid Heracles a visit and offered him a loud clapper to help him scare the vicious birds. Heracles shot the birds as they flew out from town with his bow and arrow while the rest flew away. 7. Capture the Cretan bull. Heracles traveled to Crete, where King Minos granted Heracles permission to capture the bull. The bull was ruining the city and frightening the citizens. Heracles wrestled the bull to the ground and delivered him to Eurystheus. 8. Bring back the mares of Diomedes. In this town, King Diomedes of Thrace trained mares to consume human flesh, and this was something that had to be stopped. So with the help of his friend Abderus, he managed to capture all the mares. Sadly, one of the mares murdered Abderus. Hercules then buried Abderus and named the city Abdera in his honor. He would then slay King Diomedes, calm the horses by feeding them their actual food, and bring them to Eurystheus. 9. Obtain the belt of Hippolyta. Queen Hippolyta led a warrior clan and wore a leather belt given to her by Ares, the god of war. The belt was given to her since she was the finest warrior among all the Amazons. Eurystheus wanted the belt for her daughter, Admete. When Heracles reached the country of the Amazons, Hippolyta approached him and inquired as to why he was there. Heracles told Hippolyta that he required her belt to return to Eurystheus. Hippolyta agreed to give Heracles the belt, but Hera, dressed as an Amazon warrior, informed the tribe that Heracles was on his way to capture Hippolyta. The tribe became defensive and dressed in armor as they feared Heracles. Heracles saw their armor and weapons and assumed Hippolyta had sent her tribe to kill him. So it all ended with Heracles killing Hippolyta and her army to return with her belt. 10. Obtain the cattle of Geryon. Tasked with traveling to the island of Erythea, where a man named Geryon kept a large herd of cattle, Heracles had to cross the Libyan desert. He even threatened to shoot the sun until Helios lent the hero his cup of the sun, which Heracles used to cross an ocean. When the waves threatened to capsize the ship, Heracles fired his bow at Oceanus, who, afraid of being shot at, stopped making his waves rise up around the cup, allowing Hercules to reach the island safely. Once there, our hero gathered up the vast herds, slew the shepherd guarding them, and killed Geryon with his arrows. 11. Bring the golden apples of Hesperides. Heracles' task in this labor was to steal apples from Hesperides' garden. He toured the world in pursuit of the apples and was advised by Prometheus to ask Atlas to take them. Heracles told Atlas that he would hold the world up if he got the apples for him, and Atlas agreed. Atlas requested to take the apples to Eurystheus, but Heracles agreed but deceived Atlas by asking him to hold the heavens and earth while he adjusted his garments. When Atlas took the heavens and earth back onto his shoulders, Heracles left and returned to Eurystheus to deliver the golden apples. And 12. Capture Cerberus. The 12th and last mission was to catch Cerberus the beast. Cerberus was a three-headed hound who guarded the underworld's gates to prevent the living world from entering. Heracles entered the underworld through a deep passage after realizing he couldn't enter through its entrance. He fought numerous creatures and monsters in the underworld until he arrived at Hades. Then he requested permission from the god of the underworld to bring the Cerberus to the surface. Hades agreed. Only if Heracles could restrain the beast with his bare hands and no weapons. Heracles tamed the Cerberus and brought him before Eurystheus, who asked that he return the Cerberus to the underworld. And that is it for this video. Would you have done even one of these 12 labors? Let us know in the comments. Keep loving us. We'll see you next time, and until then, stay mythically mad.